he was part of a byline doing a great deep dive on the Philadelphia Eagles. He's one of the top information men in the business, and I do believe just got hung up with an NFL coach talking about some of the stuff that we were just discussing on our program. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN is back here on the program. Good to see you, Jeremy. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Rich. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it was funny. I was just talking to a coach in the AFC. You mentioned the Titans.
Yes.
And we just brought up the Titans that they're going to be like sneaky good.
Yeah, don't you
Like
think,
the
though?
roster has kind of turned around in the last 8 months.
Don't you think? Just because, they let Derrick Henry walk, a lot of people think that they've given up or they don't have a roster that can compete significantly. And I understand, why fans would think that, or why, national fans who aren't really locked in might think that. But you do take a look at their roster and also the, if you will, Shanahan/McVay coaching tree and how those guys can show up somewhere else and perform well right off the bat. I'm looking at them saying that they're a sleeper team this year, Jeremy.
Brian Callahan creates sweet music with quarterbacks. Like he just speaks their language. He gets them comfortable. Like if you've noticed, Malik Willis is playing better now. Like they might keep 3 quarterbacks because of that. Like I just think the impact on the offense and Will Levis will be pretty profound. They've got enough receivers now. Defense drafted some playmakers. Like I was just looking at the roster the other day. It's better than I thought. Like I was like, okay, they've made a lot of progress in the last 8 to 10 months, I would say.
So let's discuss the Eagles here, because the piece that you co-bylined a couple weeks ago certainly caught my eye. And I'm just wondering why the Eagles fell apart last year. Based on your reporting, and what did you glean? What can you say other than just they weren't on the same page, which is all you hear from Philadelphia Eagles players?
Well, I think it's several factors, but one is, we took a deep dive into the relationship between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, which some sources there described it as fractured last year. It's a situation where you have 2 highly competitive people that want to do the same things and meet the same goals, but they go about it different ways. One's sort of quiet, one can be a little brash in the head coach. Just very different personalities, to where when they were kind of working one-on-one, some wondered how that's going to go. Like, is that going to be too much of an oil and water situation? Where the year before, you had Shane Steichen calling the plays, running the offense, and you had Brian Johnson, then the quarterback's coach, as sort of the buffer between Hurts and the offense and Sirianni. And then when Shane left, you didn't have that anymore. I do think that was sort of a underplayed sort of undercurrent of the whole thing. Just the infrastructure between the quarterback and the head coach wasn't as strong. And then, it wasn't just the quarterback, the offensive line. You'd see them frustrated on the sidelines. I think it was a combination of, what's our identity? It's like there were some new ideas being thrown out. Can we evolve? But Nick Sirianni wanted to stick with what they were doing so well the year before. Why change? So you had different philosophies. So you say not on the same page. That's the way to describe it in the simplest form. But there are 18 different iterations of that sort of created a really disjointed offense. And Jalen Hurts didn't play as well. I've talked to several coaches around the league that said he was sort of locking onto targets and, looked like, they can't speak for him, but looked like he was kind of trying to justify the contract by being more of a pocket passer, dropping deep, instead of kind of staying true to what they were the year before. So it's a combination of 100 things.
Could injury have been the reason why he was staying in the pocket more too, right? That he wasn't as mobile?
That is part of it. Yeah, to his credit, for sure. It's good you pointed that out, because like when we did our quarterback rankings this summer, because we rank all the positions based on executives, coaches, and scouts, really he did get the benefit of the doubt in the rankings for falling out of the top 10 sort of pantheon of quarterbacks, where the year before he was in the top 10. They did point to that injury a lot. People out, from other teams that watch the Eagles closely said like he just wasn't the same. So that is a big part of it for sure. But, you had players on offense that were sort of running their own script at times. Like it really was uncertain where the plays were coming from or who was calling the plays at times last year. And so when you don't have that kind of synergy, it's a problem. But Hurts, to his credit, was hurt and was part of a static offense that did not evolve, and that wasn't really his fault.
So then the $1 million question is did they fix it with Kellen Moore being brought in and maybe Sirianni being more hands-off and handing things off and delegating in a way that that he won't tinker, for the lack of a better. He is the head coach. I mean, things did work out very well, but Shane Steichen, as we all know, got the Colts gig based on what the offense did in that Super Bowl season. So did they fix it, Jeremy?
I think they fixed it. I would say now, when things get heated and you're week 6 and let's say you've scored 17 points in a few games and you're frustrated, will things change, or will coaches meddle more than others? Maybe. But for now, Sirianni, to his credit, sorry, I got a little dog in the background here. Sirianni, to his credit, has really tried to sort of recalibrate the whole system in Philly. He's trusting Kellen Moore. He's not a fixture in the quarterback room right now. He'll sit in on offensive meetings, but he has taken more of a leadership approach, CEO approach. He addressed the whole team in April and told them, look, a big part of last year was on me. I take full accountability for what happened last year. And that was refreshing to a lot of people who were in the room, and there were pretty much 100+ people. You're talking the whole team, support staff, coaches, and he addressed it head on. Hey, last year was on me. And so he set a nice tone this offseason. You add Saquon Barkley, who I think, and talking to some people around the league, they also wonder, could he have a Christian McCaffrey type impact on this offense the way McCaffrey did when he went to San Fran? He's probably not the caliber of player that McCaffrey is at this stage, but he's going to the perfect offense for him. And with the RPO stuff that they do and his ability, and he's still got at least 1 or 2 prime years left, most likely, like he could have a massive impact on what they're doing and change really everything.
By the way, we're a dog-friendly show, Jeremy. Don't worry about it.
He's elusive. He wants to play fetch right now.
Okay. I feel like I should transition to the Browns with a dog, right? I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to do that. So, which is the team that you've been hearing about the most that we're not talking about, Jeremy? Which is the team that you're hearing about from other coaches, other members of our profession, that on the outset of the season we should be, you think, talking about a little bit more?
Yeah, I kind of lean on my training camp tours. I went around between joint practices and tours. I hit 16 teams up. You mentioned the Browns. Watching them, I mean, their defense is going to be awesome. Like, I don't think there's any doubt about that. There's still questions about Deshaun Watson. We haven't seen him much. I saw him throw a little bit. He looked pretty good. I wouldn't say he looked like, wow, top 5 quarterback, but that was just one practice, and they didn't have the best offense that day. It was a joint practice with the Vikings, but the defense, particularly the cornerbacks and the backfield, like, it would shock me if they're not one of the league's very best. So I think the Browns are, roster-wise, are as well positioned as just about anybody outside of maybe 3 or 4 teams right now. They've done a really good job of building that up. So if they get just capable quarterback play, they can win 11 and 12 games. Seattle's a team that a lot of people are sleeping on, just being there. Like, there's a lot of talent there and a lot of depth. They might not have those blue chip top 5 guys, but they're loaded at every position. And Mike McDonald, just talking to him, you can tell he's got a lot of ideas. Ryan Grubb has an offense that's sort of emboldening Geno Smith in a big way, where he feels like he can take more ownership and change things at the line if he needs to, and has more autonomy than he did. So this could be really his best year.
I kind of like the moves Atlanta made in the last couple of weeks by adding Judon and Simmons, 2 bona fide, real grown-ass man veterans. You know what I mean? On the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, we had Kirk Cousins on just a couple days ago. He seemed to just be, chill. And again, I understand the Penix thing is still a head scratcher, but that didn't seem to me like it concerns him. Maybe down the road, but certainly for 2024, it doesn't. I'm wondering did you see them? Were you in their training camps at all?
I didn't go to Atlanta, but just really from my reporting all off season and this summer, Kirk was blindsided. There's no doubt about the Penix deal, but it was stressed to me like he's a big boy. I mean, he's been in the NFL business a long time. He's worked the system to his favor. He's seen teams do what they need to do. They're going to do what they have to do at all costs to win. And sometimes that means drafting somebody you don't expect that could be a replacement. Like, he's cool that at this point he's made his peace with it. The efficiency that the offense will have has already been evident in just a couple weeks of training camp and preseason. Even though he hasn't been hit yet, that's really the next step, and that probably won't come till week 1, coming off that Achilles injury. But Drake London is going to be a 1,000-yard receiver. He's going to be a marquee guy now. Like, you can pretty much bet that, I think. So he's going to bring the best out of and unlock some targets that were just getting uneven bad quarterback play for a few years. Just that alone will lift them up. And you got to give them credit. They didn't panic on the pass rush front, right? Everybody said, get a pass rusher in the first round. Why take Michael Penix? Well, they said quarterback's too important, and there's always an avenue to get a better player. So Matthew Judon's probably better than most anybody would have drafted.
Heck yeah.
And you get him for a third-round pick. So they're in a pretty good spot right now. They had to fix the defense in a few spots, and they did that. They were built 2 months ago as a team that could score points, but maybe it was uneven up front. Well, Judon and Simmons doesn't solve everything, but it solves a few things.
In the last couple minutes I have with you, Jeremy Fowler, senior NFL reporter from ESPN, let's get a little grist. Of all the folks you've been talking to, which is the quarterback signing of the offseason that's left heads being scratched the most? Which one is the one that folks are like, don't know about that one the most?
Ooh, quarterback signing. I'm just trying to.
So it would be Lawrence, Love, Tua.
Oh, the big contracts. Okay, I was thinking of like free agency signings.
Yes, sir.
Because those are sort of clear cut. It's funny because you have a lot of talks about the quarterback market, and do you pay for a guy who's maybe outside of the top 10 or middle of the road? And teams have two paths on that, right? They either stick with the comfort, like we know we have a guy and life's much worse,
right,
without a guy who's sort of not in that top 16 or whatever. It's the haves and the have-nots. And so teams are just deciding to blindly pay that. I think Miami, there was some skepticism a little bit league-wide just because of the injuries that he's had. Now, look, he led the league in passing and played 17 games last year. He did what he had to do to get the money. And, when other quarterbacks were hitting that $50 million mark, including Trevor Lawrence, then, Tua can say, look, I can't take any less than that. But I know that Miami, even though they have a lot of faith in Tua and Mike McDaniel loves Tua, they were spooked in that building a little bit when Lawrence and Jared Goff were getting $52 to $55 million. There was some spookiness there. They're like, okay, we have to do this. And we really like Tua, but I don't think a lot of people would mistake him for being in that sort of Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes class, Joe Burrow. So it's a tough pill to swallow a little bit, but they do believe that they can win with him and they have the team around him to do it. So I would say that one, just, teams bring up Tua as like, he's good, not great. Do you pay for just good, Or at least Trevor Lawrence, for all the problems he's had, and he was bad last year, but he was also, I think, more hurt than people let on or knew. His ceiling's higher, so you pay for the ceiling. Jordan Love, you pay for the ceiling. You pay for what they could be. And Jared Goff, there weren't a lot of complaints about that contract, honestly. He became a top 10 quarterback without the contract just the last 2 years alone. Like, he's a guy now. It's been a pretty impressive rise for when he was left for dead 3 years ago or 2 years ago in LA.
Jeremy, thanks for the time. I do believe, if I could sense it, you have in fact been dispensing information, having a conversation while playing fetch with your dog the last couple of minutes.
I'm trying to secure the dog.
It's fine.
Because I know the dog's making noise.
No,
here we go.
That's fine. Here we go. Let's see your dog.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh,
Rosie.
yes.
Oh, my goodness.
He was bothering me on my show, so I was trying to do the Rich Eisen Show.
What's your dog's name? Who's this?
This is Rosie. It's little Rosie. Yeah, first time on
Rosie's
on air,
collar matches his shirt.
Matches your shirt. This is great. Look at that.
Yeah. So she wants to play fetch, but then she won't let me. She won't.
Rosie.
She keeps bothering me until I acknowledge her. So.
Fantastic. Well done, Jeremy Fowler with Rosie in a matching shirt collar combination.
That's right.
Thanks for the time, Jeremy. Greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, Rich.
You got it. That's
Appreciate
Jeremy Fowler and Rosie, senior NFL dog, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. And help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered. And adopt, don't shop. Did I do a good job right there? Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.